So what you're currently listening to is Carl Casey. He does some pretty amazing, and from what I can gather, free to use on live streams and, you know, videos and whatnot. So yeah. So anyway, I'm returning to this particular drawing from last week. I'm making a few alterations to it because I kind of got it wrong. First of all, I've done her hair too long, so I'm just going to fix that first. So I was right the first time. I really shouldn't have sort of given her this sort of hair extension going down too far. So this is officially the second last stream of the year for me. The official last one will be kind of it'll be like the last one and the first one. It'll kind of blend in tomorrow night because I'll be in for New Year's. I got a few fun bits and pieces planned, I guess you could say, for, let me just check if my microphone is on. Yes, it is. Okay, cool. Yeah, so yeah, I'll be back to doing like a full session of sketch jam. I'll be reading articles and watching videos. If you're so inclined to send me some cool stuff. So I got this giant buster sword that she has, pretty much 100% incorrect. So I'm just going to get rid of all this detail in the middle, and we're going to start again, just from scratch. Get rid of all this color. This isn't required. I hope where everybody is, they're doing well. This year's almost over, guys. We made it. We can officially just chill out for another 24 hours. So the design is somewhat more complicated than it looks, but I've got an example of it in front of me. So on this, there's a monitor just off to my right here that I'm just using as a reference. So if I'm constantly turning this way, it's not that I'm actually looking at what I'm drawing. I'm just using it as a reference. It's actually a really cool and well-designed sword. It's got this little wolf head. Which I think is pretty cute. Let's see. Hang on. So in order to like really zoom in, I've actually got the game open on my my gaming computer next to me. So to get like a really good zoom in of what the weapon actually looks like. I just open it up. So, yeah, sort of code name in Overwatch 2 is Looper, which is the she-wolf, which I think is kind of cool. Just gonna pop over to the multi-stream because now I won't get it like 100% accurate, but so that, yeah, angle it in a way that I can sort of see as much of the detail as I can. I've always been a big fan of swords, even as a kid. I remember always wanting like a proper wooden sword, like, you know, with a hilt and a pommel and all that cool stuff. Because I was exactly at the right age when Ninja Turtles came out, like the first animated show of TMNT, and that show took pretty much everyone in my class by storm. That was some next level amazing afternoon after school television. Like, we watched all the episodes, well, as many episodes as were airing in Australia. The cool part about doing a live stream, hang on, just real double check something here. Just real quick. All right. Yeah, all right. Cool, thank you very much, I appreciate that. Yeah, so yeah, the cool part about the Ninja Turtles is kind of what makes them a bit annoying, and like I've got a point here, don't worry, it's just the Ninja Turtles I grew up with, and you know, my younger brother and all that, is definitely it doesn't really look like the Ninja Turtles of today, because every time Ninja Turtles has been sort of put into like other kinds of media outside of the comic books, like the original comic books, they've changed them every single time, you know? And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think there absolutely needs to be, you know, always different artists working on like either a Ninja Turtles game or a Ninja Turtles movie, or, you know, even more Ninja Turtles comics. That they should always be like a little bit different, not like deviating too much from the original source material as to be like unrecognizable, but just different enough that they're their own unique thing. Maybe. You never know. Yeah, I was always wondering, like, why the Ninja Turtles needed to change quite so dramatically every single time. And it's not like it's that far different or anything like that. It's just you know. Yeah, it's all good. I'm pretty sure that they won't worry too much about me. Yeah, like these changes always like struck me as a bit weird. The interesting thing about it is like the more things change, the more like fans really want things to stay the same. Like I just saw the reveal teaser trailer for Avengers Doomsday, and it's got like old Cyclops in it, and I thought that was really cool. Like, and he's not just like old Cyclops from like uh, like the X-Men movies from like the early 2000s. He's like old Cyclops, like the same actor that plays him, but he's wearing his his 90s era accurate costume. Like he actually has the blue and yellow, like with the gloves and everything. Like he's not wearing his visor, he's just like shooting his eye beams out like just completely raw, and it's coming out in like a pure red straight line. It looks amazing. Like honestly, I am very, very impressed. And I think this sort of real push and real pivot to just making and keeping things as comic book accurate will definitely bring back like even more fans than before, you know? I'm gonna make this a bit more sword like. Do hope everyone's out there doing all right, getting ready for New Year's. I know I am. Sort of hit the ground running for 2026 as best I can, I guess. Never understood that phrase, hit the ground running, because there was an episode of Mythbusters where they tested that theory, like, oh, you hit the ground running, and every single time, like, it was pretty much impossible. Like, it is, I think it literally is just just an old saying that probably had some kind of literal meaning attached to it, but not so much anymore. Just have to bear with me for a minute. Just gonna zoom in on that weapon charm. Yeah, so Vendetta is an Italian hero on Overwatch, which is Long overdue and very, very cool. Hey there, how's it going? Sorry for the quiet parts. Sometimes when I'm sort of concentrating, I just sort of forget to keep yammering away about stuff. But yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, the new trailer for the new X Men. No, not X Men. It's a sort of, hey, let's get literally all the comic book hero like actors and put them in the same movie. You know what I mean? It's like we've got the entire ensemble cast now. Let's make this like the biggest ever. And I think that's kind of, interesting and cool. Because I mean, at this point, where do comic book movies really go? Like, there's not a lot of wiggle room for um, being too experimental with them. Because like fans are just not having a bar of it at this point. They're just like, look, we appreciate that you wanted to make things a bit like different. You wanted to make these characters which you had the license and rights for look different to their like comic book counterparts, which is fine. Like, you do want to be able to retain the rights over characters that look a certain way. Oh, thank you very much. That look a certain way, and like have that particular style as your own. That's like the house style that the old movies from the early 2000s. That's what they were going for, and that's cool. And like even how those characters use their powers, it's like just a lot of guys doing this, at towards the camera. It's kind of cute and funny. Like you see the fan edits made of these movies, and you just can't take them seriously. You got like there's this YouTube channel that I check out from time to time, and it's just funny. Because it's all these classic movies, and whoever's made these, all he's done is just taken clips from, say, Titanic or Avatar or basically any sort of blockbuster movie, and added fart noises in the background in like certain scenes. It's funny as. It's just literally called with farts. And like obviously, with a name like that, it's not for everybody. But if you need, if you just like to have a good laugh from time to time, like you could do a lot worse. So I spoke to an old friend during last stream, and he suggested to me that I start drawing some famous faces, more celebrities and whatnot. And I think, yeah, I think that's what's gonna be a big part of New Year's stream. So guys, if you are watching, particularly in Australia, like if you're like me and you have no other plans for New Year's Eve because you're not working and you're just enjoying the time off like a regular person, tune in and check it out. I also got this incorrect as well. So I really sort of push for as much accuracy in my work as I can. Like just from a purely aesthetic standpoint. See, from a distance, I thought that this was more of a crown rather than like there's just two claws either side and the middle claw in the middle. So essentially, the visual of this particular like giant sword, it's supposed to represent like the fang and the like the front paw of a she-wolf. At least that's how I've interpreted it. There's also a lot of small details that I pretty much missed. First time round. Also, some other announcements. I will be returning to TikTok in the new year as well. Like, not just uploading stuff, like also doing lives on TikTok too. So those should be pretty fun. kind of made it a little bit too long as well. Bring that in just a teeny bit more. So it doesn't look like she's got like this gigantic meat hook of a hand. Or ham hock rather. Meat hook. So there might be a few times when I do a gaming stream next year, but you know, for the most part, I'll be just keeping them to the art stuff. So I uploaded a video to my TikTok channel yesterday, actually, just talking about New Year's resolutions. And the fact that is, like, I tend not to make New Year's resolutions. Like, I'm pretty indifferent to the whole idea of setting myself a goal that I really should have taken care of in the year that I just lived through. But I've sort of made a lot of New Year's resolutions that I've actually stuck to with a considerable level of I guess you could call it dedication. And the trick to maintaining a New Year's resolution, like indefinitely, is pick something that you actually want to do. Like, I know it seems sort of almost counterintuitively stupid, but there are plenty of things that are positive and surprisingly easy that you can implement in your own life. And not only that, they're usually relatively inexpensive too. Like this year, I thought about it, and I have recently began not using self-checkouts, and it simply just boils down to, well, yeah, if I'm paying that much for groceries, then I am not also additionally working for free for the supermarket that I'm shopping at. Like, as far as I'm concerned, that particular ship has sailed. And I'm pretty sure, like, I'm not alone in that kind of sentiment. Like, look, I think most of us were blindsided and kind of tricked into thinking that doing the checking out of our own, like, items that we buy for ourselves was the future, but it really isn't. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, oh, I am shopping at this place, and then I'm going to then take somebody's job for, a minute or so, where I can just check out my own groceries, bag them myself, bring them to my car, and then drive home. And to a degree, like, if you're a naturally introverted person who isn't crazy about the whole small talk aspect of somebody saying hi, how are you, and then them doing that whole sort of checking out your whatever you buy. Like, I get that. Like, we live in a world where pathologized shyness is a reality. It just is. Like, the amount of people who, love being alone and, being entertained by themselves is honestly pretty scary. But not having to engage in small talk with somebody whose job it is to literally ring them up so you can do it instead shouldn't be an excuse. Like, you don't necessarily have to engage too much with the person who's, making sure that your groceries are checked out. You just do it. And it's kind of friendly. There's sort of a there's like camaraderie there, you know what I mean? So there's a new movie coming out in January about William Shakespeare's son, apparently, or something like that, and it's called Hamnet. And I think that's both a very cool and terrible name for a movie. Because that's all I can think of is like a Christmas ham in one of those butcher's twine things, So apparently Robert Downey Jr. is going to be in the movie as Doctor Doom, which I think is an interesting choice. Like, there has to be a good reason for it, for him to go from like Iron Man to this bad guy. And I think it does like sort of tie into the established law of the multiverse, which is also like, I never liked the idea of the multiverse myself. I just thought, look, I mean, I'm okay with accepting that there are different versions of different characters and like, no two are ever the same. Like, I'm cool with that, but quite often we're being introduced to these characters that exist in sort of a Rick and Morty expanded universe where that particular version of that character might not be the actual original like OG version of that character. It's like, oh no, that one was from like a different time and place and stuff, and like there is a lot of parallels at the moment being drawn to what's it called, Doctor Who. Like, there's a real Doctor Whoification, if that's even a word, of like a lot of these sort of superhero universes. Like with the recent selling of Warner Brothers to Netflix, you know, it's like, oh, okay, I guess they have you know, full creative control over where the DC universe goes to from here, you know. And it's weird, like these a lot of these old media companies, you know, these 100-year-old, like they started in like vaudeville, like stage shows and stuff, and they kind of branched out when movies and TV were like when that was brand new technology. That's what I find fascinating about like these old media companies, is just how long they've been around, and you know, pivoting hasn't been a lot like their strong suits so much. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. So what we're going to do, I'm going to chuck some ink. So I got a whole bunch of fan art that I want to make, and I do a lot of this stuff like on live stream and everything, you know. Just so I've got the motivation to, you know, kill two birds with one stone, so to speak. So yeah, I thought about, you know, what I'm looking forward to in 2026. There's a few bits and pieces that I've absolutely got earmarked. But as I will be going live tomorrow night, and I will be, I'll have like a little version of the fireworks on screen as well, like from like a live stream point of view. So we're gonna ring in the new year together. Obviously, being on this side of the planet, we're the first countries to actually ring in the new year. The rest of the world is, you know, quite often 24 hours behind. Let me just check my stats. Oh, hello. Okay, that just went gangbusters for a second there. Alrighty. Nice, nice, very cool. Yeah, so I'm always impressed with how well the channel's done. Over the last couple of months. See, as I was saying, during my last stream before this one, I didn't really start paying attention to my channel until like July of this year. Like, I'd posted a few things here and there that, you know, kind of got seen by a few people. But nothing that really sort of blew anybody's socks off. And that's okay. Like, you know, you seriously, you just got to start somewhere, and you know, that's the best advice, I think. I think that's the only advice that's really worth listening to. I'm watching some old boxing videos. Of like these fights and stuff, and you kind of see, you know, our two boxes kind of go about their job, you know. And I can appreciate that as a job, being a professional fighter, like with any job, would sort of, you know, wear on you a bit after a while. Just want to move this strand of hair over. One, it's too long, and two, it doesn't quite match with what I'm trying to do here. I had sort of a highlight reel for tomorrow's live stream that I wanted to sort of, you know, talk about, but I figured it's just easier just to talk about it now. So what are some cool things that happened to me this year? And I've sort of got like a bit of a, I guess you could call it like a top 10. But obviously number one is becoming a dad. And that was by far like peak. That's, you know, when you see in like some people's dating profiles on Hinge, it has like the prompt and it says my life peaked here or whatever. It's like, yeah, you know, becoming a dad, that's absolutely for me. I'm gonna get this armor and I'm gonna get it correct this time. Was not happy with how I did this particular pauldron. So the design theory behind Vendetta is she's a sort of a modern gladiator. It's like a bit of an Amazon kind of character. Just kind of take a second. I do not like this song at all. I'm just overhearing this awful sounding like synthesizer track, and I'm just thinking, yeah, that is really distracting. Even when it's like on low volume, that is really annoying. And I'm looking over and I'm just like, oh, okay. It's a song called Meat Grinder. No wonder it's awful. So yeah, what else made the list? I went to Tasmania for the first time, and I got to say, uh, I was impressed. They have a very lovely little state down there. I think it's very cool that you know they've kind of done their own thing. You know, sort of turned Tassie into their own cold, windy paradise. Like visiting Tasmania and spending like, more than 24 hours there, I did get the impression that even though like I was still very much in Australia, it kind of felt like I wasn't. Like I was speaking to other Aussies that had Australian accents and like all the pieces of the puzzle that make up being Aussie were there, obviously, but at the same time I'm just thinking to myself, this is about as close to another country as I've been to without leaving the country. It's a strange feeling, like it's like, I just have to keep convincing myself, yeah, I'm still in Australia. I'm still in Australia. And some of the old stereotypes were kind of true. Like, I mean, there's bogans in every major city, and even in the regional centres of Australia. Like, I'm not gonna dispute that at all, but yeah, far out. Tasmania is not without its rough customers, that's for sure. Still, I felt welcome there, you know. So I was over there for the Stanleys. So they're called the Australian Cartoonist Association's like annual awards show, and they're really really cool because you know all these old newspaper cartoonists, the guys that um, have a lot of power and sway over like public opinion when it comes to politics. They sort of emerge from their hiding spots and just come hang out for 48 hours, and it's just fascinating because like these are, at least for guys like me, it's sort of like hanging out with celebrities. People who've been working in newspapers since I was a kid, basically. And meeting them for the like quite often meeting them for the first time is just humbling. All right, we've hit the 1 hour mark, guys. Would like to extend a warm hello to everyone also who happened to be watching on X. thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it. And I hope everyone has had a wonderful 2025. I mean, obviously, I've seen a lot of people complaining about how this year has gone for them, and you know, I feel for those people. Like, yeah, I would be, um, more than a bit annoyed as well with how this year has turned out. Like, it hasn't been perfect even for me. Like, I'm usually a very, you know, positive guy. There's been a handful of occasions during this year that, you know, weren't great. But yeah, perseverance. That's the name of the game. It's interesting seeing what's happened also. Like, I watched this, I guess you could say it's a somewhat depressing video essay about what has happened to a lot of the alpha male influencers that were, like, you know, quite prolific and all over the place not too long ago, and how most of them have fallen off in one way or another. You know, and when you sort of like look under the mic, I mean, you don't really have to look under the microscope. You just have to sort of do a tiny amount of cursory research, like even look into the comment section of a video like uploaded by them, and you quickly realize that yeah, they absolutely are just grifters. And like, grifters can take all different kinds of forms and stuff. Like, it's not just um, you know, blokes who seem to be overcompensating for how short they are. But they're definitely in the majority. You know, making all these spurious claims that they were making hundreds of millions of dollars when they were likely still, you know, too young to drive. A little bit quiet out there tonight. I think a lot of folks are just sort of pretty much over it for this year. Like, it's been, you know, unusual. like seeing Sydney make headlines the way it did not that long ago, particularly Bondi, a place where I've had family members and friends live. It's a real gut check, you know? Because we're kind of all under the impression that that Australia is really too cool to be sort of embroiled in, you know, the weirdness of the politics of the rest of the world. But I think if Bondi's proved anything, that is so far from the truth that it basically is anathema to... okay. Sorry, just getting a quick update on what's going on. I think what's happening around the world right now is just like this like phenomenon where everyone's kind of cool and everyone's kind of, yeah. Bit over it. If they're being honest. So she's got these sort of interesting shaped tattoos on her legs. I'll make sure to get those right. So her tats are also like reflective of the sword that she carries as well. So yeah, as I was mentioning before, the original guy that plays Cyclops from like the old X-Men movies, he's come back, and I cannot for the life of me remember his name. just going to do a quick IMDb search. You'll just bear with me for a minute. Internet and movie database. Oh, they brought back Malcolm in the Middle. Everyone's like in their 30s now. It's hilarious. Now let's have a look. Ski. Cyclops. X-Men. Let's have a look. He's not here. Where is he? Doomsday? Avengers Doomsday. Alright, so that's the one of the trailers, and they're bringing back, what's his name? That guy. So they've got Robert Downey Jr., Pedro Pascal, Chris Hemsworth, Vanessa Kirby, Anthony Mackie, Sebastian Stan, Ebon Moss, what's his name? Ebon Moss Backrack. Hang on. Dang it. Simu Liu, Florence Pugh, Lewis Pullman. I think that's the son of Bill Pullman. I'm pretty sure it is. Winston Duke, Tom Hiddleston, Patrick Stewart, Rebecca Romaine, Alan Cumming, Chris Evans, obviously, Kelsey Grammer. Oh, that's cool. I love his version of Beast. I think is the best version because he just has the face for it. David Harbour. That's pretty obvious. Oh, who else? There's more to this. Yeah. David Harbour, India Rose Hemsworth, Tenoch Huerta, Hannah John Kamen, James Marsden. That's who he is. So this dude here, this guy. So that guy there, that is the original Cyclops. So yeah, very cool. Very nostalgia, you know. I think this is like they really want to go with the 90s kids at this point. Like the 80s kids are sort of a bit of a spent force at this point, but you know, the 90s kids have a fair amount of petrol in the old tank, and they might be able to bring back comic book movies in a way Anyway, it's a guess. I think like that's the interesting thing about comic book movies as a whole, as a genre. Like, he just I can't sort of watch and enjoy them the way I used to. Like, you know when there would be a TV special showing you the behind the scenes of a movie, and all of a sudden the carefully crafted and very well executed spell of the suspension of disbelief would just be broken, and next thing you know, you'd be like, oh, okay, I guess this is all just green screens and CGI. Not sure why I'm getting excited about it, because there's nothing really here. You know, you just film some dude in a costume looking at a sort of I guess a tennis ball up on a wall in some sort of soundstage that's a converted warehouse, and you know, they just say a line and yeah, that's it. So going into 2026, obviously I mentioned earlier my own personal what's it called? New Year's resolution was just quite simply to be like, yeah, I'm not using a self checkout whenever possible. Like, I mean, there obviously will be some times when like there won't be any option, because like a lot of these companies have really sort of dug deep and pushed hard with the idea of, yeah, let's just eliminate as many of these jobs as we can, and let's outsource them to the actual customers, which is a hilarious bait and switch. My hat goes off to those guys. Like, bravo, seriously. The fact that you guys were able to market self-service as convenience, when the only convenience being like you know, taken advantage of, was for basically you guys. That is some chef's kiss. Because like, it's taking something that's already existed, you know, it's like, and just sort of repurposing it as a side hustle that's even better if it's if it's done for free. I love that. I absolutely love that, because like, it just shows that kind of, you know, out of the box thinking that the characters from the show Mad Men would have honestly, you know, given a standing ovation to. You know what I mean? Like, so we make them work for us for free, and they'll see it as a cool futuristic privilege. Ah, it's brilliant on so many levels. So definitely got some requirements heading into the new year. Handful of must-haves and a whole bunch of can't live withouts. I am preparing to embark on the what's called the 90-day carnivore challenge, and I can kind of see myself stumbling at the first hurdle because just in that 3 months there are so many family birthdays. It's like, okay, I'm gonna eat nothing but meat, eggs, some dairy, and just water as like a thirst quenching drink. All of a sudden, hey, it's my birthday, have some cake. All of a sudden, I'm back to square one. So unfortunately, that's just the brutal reality of switching over to carnivore as a diet when essentially society at large barely tolerates its existence. It's a very strange kind of thing, we've just got an hour and a half. Yeah, still making good time though. So yeah, it's interesting. In Australia, we just have like a lot of holidays during January for some reason. So we've got what is it? We got New Year's obviously, and then we've got Australia Day, which doesn't seem like a lot. But as far as public holidays go, when you have a public holiday in the middle of the school holidays and they're the longest like break that we have, it's just a whole thing. Yeah, and this is the one holiday during the year that is by far the most controversial when it comes to like any of the Australian like public holidays. Like there's always some kind of protest banging on about it, and people up in arms and just it's just like guys, it's a day off. We don't have to fight about this. It's not important. But the amount of people that get stressed out and bent out of shape and all that kind of stuff over Australia, which is quite possibly the lamest version of the 4th of July of any Commonwealth time. Because the thing is, like, Australia is still technically part of the British Empire. Like, the British Empire is still a thing, believe it or not. It's just the only countries that were worth hanging on to in terms of how the UK was, and the British Crown and everything like that was looking at it, is essentially all the English speaking ones except the United States. That's basically what it boils down to. It's like, okay, well, we had all this land, all this territory, all these human beings under our sway, and we've just decided to just trim it back to, well, Australia, Canada, New Zealand. That's basically it. We're not going to add any more. The countries that are still like the other countries that are still like part of that. If they want their independence, they absolutely can have it. We're not going to fight them on it. We're just going to say, look, we already lost the really, really important one in a war for independence, and we're just not doing that ever again. So if you want to leave, just leave quietly. That's all we ask, and that seems to have worked for the UK for the most part. Like, I am not a historian, nor am I an expert in like world politics or geography. Um, I could have just completely pulled that out of. I may have just made that up entirely. In fact, I did. Like, obviously, these things are a lot more like. I mean, they are and they aren't. You know, it's like most of these now sovereign countries with like water and electricity and all that fun stuff. Like, when the British showed up, they really didn't have anything. You know. Like, conquering them was a cinch because realistically the natives had never like fought against anything quite as advanced as a musket before. And like, you know, you see people today saying, "Oh, muskets are primitive weapons. They're like the most old-fashioned janky gun ever." And like, I have watched a musket, like an actual musket being fired. They are terrifying. There is something truly gut wrenching about the bang sound and the subsequent smoke that comes billowing out of the muzzle, and you just think, oh my god, what the hell? Now, if you're a hunter-gatherer whose only experience of weaponry has been sticks and stones, quite literally, and you encounter a steel ball or a lead ball being hurled so fast and so hard at you that your arm or your leg or, heaven forbid, your head just explodes on impact, yeah, you're going to think that aliens have arrived and you should surrender immediately. Like, I was in Canada back in 2018. I was visiting my brother over there, and we went to this fort just on the banks of one of the Great Lakes there, I think, as one sort of big body of water. Anyway, they had this sort of periodic firing of, you know, a musket, and oh my god, teeth shatteringly loud. Like, the guy who was firing it was dressed in, you know, a traditional sort of red coat uniform from that period of time. And I knew that he had earplugs in, because there was no way he would have been able to fire that thing on a regular basis and not walked away with like ringing in his ears. So yeah, I look at you know, books like Guns, Germs, and Steel, and I just think, yeah, if I was, you know, a primitive tribes person witnessing like a musket firing for the first time, yeah, I would be scared as well, like genuinely terrified. So I mean that's realistically how easy it was for the British Empire to expand and just take over these places because they just did not have the technology at all. And there's nothing wrong with that, it just wasn't there. Yeah, I'm making pretty good time on this one, actually. Yeah, I think there's something about sort of taking the time and like layering the drawing that makes it a lot more fun. Like, as far as Sketch Jam goes. Oh, that's right. What is it? Season 2 of Fallout is finally there, available to be watched by the masses. Sorry, just have to bear with me for a minute. Make your hands a little bit less gigantic. So yeah, as I was mentioning before, here's what I want to see kind of change, not so much in terms of myself when it comes to like having a New Year's resolution. I want to see sort of more of an attempt by the rest of the world, if that makes sense, to kind of get over stuff that they were like engaged in for the longest time. And of all the things I want to see either disappear entirely or go back to being not mainstream anymore, septum piercings. I hate septum piercings. Like, okay, that's a bit of a strong word. I don't hate septum piercings. I just find them unpleasant to look at. Because no matter who's got one, and for some reason they always look worse on men, a septum piercing just says, yeah, I'm not like other girls, and I don't care if you spend your entire time just staring at the piece of snot-covered metal hanging from just under my nostrils. Because make no mistake, ladies, your septum piercing, as much as you think it makes you look like interesting and a rebel, and it might draw attention away from other parts of your face that you find less than desirable, all it says is, I'm a conformist. Your face may as well like just be saying 6'7", which is the other thing on my list that needs to go in 2026. Like, enough with the whole 6'7" thing. Like, I get it. It's kind of cool. It's kind of ironic. It's kind of like, hey, and I get it that I'm also in that generation now. Like, as a millennial, I unwittingly have stepped into the role of the increasingly out of touch old fuddy-duddy. I get it. But 6'7" doesn't mean anything. Like, it's not even, like, funny or interesting. Like, okay. Cool, I guess. Like, I heard it explained what it actually meant. Like, oh, it's some basketball player who's 6'7", and the guy describing him was like doing this 6 and 7, and I was like, okay. And all of a sudden, all the kids started saying it, and it's cool. Why? Like, this just sort of reminds me of the Underpants Gnome episode of South Park, and I know I'm showing my age when I'm talking about that, but it really is. It's just like, okay, so we're just going to say this random thing from a ESPN news reporter, and it's going to be funny, I think. You know, they never really sort of kind of articulate as to why 6'7" is funny or interesting or something cool to say. It's just there. And I don't mind being the old out of touch fuddy-duddy, like, you know, becoming a dad for the first time in my early 40s. That was just gonna happen regardless, you know, so it's kind of perfect timing for me, because I was already very much on the path to becoming as out of touch as possible, and I think that fun little wonderful event in my life earlier this year has really sped that up. Like, I'm gonna be, you know, at the very least in my 60s by the time she's, you know, ready to go to university. And, you know, looking at how my own parents have aged and, you know, entered their 60s, like their 70s, like, time does start catching up to you. Like, you know, you absolutely do need to maintain some kind of bare minimum muscle tone, otherwise you are screwed as an old person. Like, I'm seeing all these videos about like these 80 somethings who you know, work out and everything, and I look at, you know, just the people in my own life who have sort of gone off the boil when it comes to their own like exercise and stuff, and this includes myself, and I just think, wow, you absolutely do need to, you know, keep up this bare minimum of physical activity, or your ability to walk will just be robbed from you and you won't even see it happening. It's like I joke with them, you know, it's like, oh, we're going to have to get you a walker, we're going to have to get you a mobility scooter one day. And I'm just thinking, yeah, I'm not actually joking. This is kind of the progression of things, you know? And I think it's not just it's like my perception of time as well. It's sped up now that I know exactly what to expect during the passing of a year. You know, things that are going to matter, things that aren't going to matter, things that get forgotten. They're all part of the tapestry of life. I must admit, it's probably to do with the heat more than anything else, but I love an afternoon nap. Yeah, getting there. Slowly but surely. Oh. That's the other interesting thing about your 20s. Like, you kind of live through them and they kind of live through you. Because they're really that first decade in your life where what you do really starts to matter. Like, so many of your life choices have led up to this very point. Just a strange moment. Just condensing down all these details. So yeah, also I should add to my my list of things that I want to do next year. So it's not so much like it's not so like, you know, you got like I want 6'7" to stop, and I want women to quit it when it comes to the septum piercings. I also want, like, you know, movies to make me want to see them again. Like, I want to have an excuse to go and, you know, just kill a couple of hours and watch, like, you know, a really cool kind of bit of escapism. Like, I haven't been able to do that for, God, forever now. Like, I went and saw Deadpool Wolverine, but that was like a movie date. The thing is, like, having nobody to go see the movie with is a big part of it. Like, I will happily return to seeing movies on a semi-regular basis, but I've got to have someone to go with. And that's the whole point of date night. which is another thing that I miss, you know. That's the weird thing. Like when you hit your 40s, your mind matures even more. And you just think, look, I don't want, I don't particularly want to go out and find the love of my life. It's a weird feeling. Like I'm sure she's out there. I'm sure she's doing great. I'm sure she's enjoying brunch or getting an early night. Even though everyone's just gearing up for New Year's celebrations. Like I briefly matched with this one girl, and it's interesting when you talk to somebody who kind of gradually reveals that she has the most red flags. Like it's a weird situation where you just think, oh, and the more they explain about themselves, the less you can see any kind of like future with them whatsoever. It's like, oh, okay. Just casually chatting and everything. And I get that, like, for women out there, that's exactly what they do when they're evaluating some dude that they've, matched with, who instantaneously starts chatting with them because dudes just don't get a whole lot of matches. Like, I've never had a problem with the finding matches and stuff. Like, I'll have dry spells like any dude, but for the most part, I've actually been reasonably successful. Like, I can get a few chat lines in, but usually they bail out pretty quickly, which is fine. That's the other thing you find out about yourself is how you process and come to terms with like, I wouldn't say necessarily that I'm stoic. I'm just kind of indifferent. Which, in its own right, is a kind of stoicism. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, he's pretty nonchalant. He doesn't get worked up about a lot of stuff. It's like, I get worked up about plenty of stuff. It's just that, the fact that, like, I matched with some random, single mum who just does not fit the criteria for what I'm looking for anyway, but it's just nice to have, a brief chat with a stranger, even if it goes nowhere. And then that's the whole thing about dating when you're essentially middle-aged. Your ability to care is nowhere near as like, the well just isn't as deep as, as you thought it was going to be. Like, oh, okay. Tell me more. You live how far away from me? Great. It's just interesting. Like, you just you swipe on someone, you kind of you glance at their profile, you go through, it's like, oh, this person seems to tick all the boxes when it comes to looks. They seem to be, well put together, fit, healthy, employed, just the usual. And then you just sort of, you glance at their location and you just think, didn't I set my parameters for how far away I'm willing to, cast the net, so to speak? And no, apparently that doesn't matter. So here's somebody who's at least an hour away, but for some reason miraculously still within the city limits of where you live. And it's just like, first of all, thanks but no thanks, and second of all, why the hell is Sydney so big? I get it that it's more, it sprawls rather than like it's built up and stuff, but a 15-minute city, Sydney is not. Watching this YouTube channel, this guy, he just does these little video essays about the various train stations in Sydney, when they were built, what they were originally for, little bits of trivia about, historical Sydney and stuff like that. And one of his videos, like, he just describes this essentially ghost town, this train station in a ghost town. There's maybe 2 houses nearby. There's only like maybe 400 people in the whole area. You actually have to request that the train stop there, otherwise it's just going to completely avoid it, because, like I said, it might pick up half a dozen people a day. Just further proof that Australia is just huge. Like, Australia is a place where you will have a lot of free space, unless you want to live in a big city like Sydney, obviously. But and this guy, he just sort of goes to these remote destinations on our public transport map, and he's just like, this train station has a particularly immaculate garden. I'm just like, wow, you really do learn something new every day. I cannot for the life of me remember what the name of the train station was, but yeah, it was really cool. I was watching this other thing last night about one-hit wonders. There's quite a few of them during like the 1980s. And you got like Aha, which I discovered for the first time was actually a Norwegian band. And their song Take On Me was really only famous for its music video. I mean, obviously, it's an absolute banger of a song and everyone loves it, but the only reason why it was loved back then is they had this amazing looking but prohibitively expensive like music video to go along with the song. And like what made them like really famous as a band turned out to be like a sort of a bit of an albatross around their neck. fascinating the way things happen. So I'll definitely sit down and watch. I'll binge watch the entire the second season of Fallout. I'll do a bit of a report on that. Like, I mean, everyone's at the moment freaking out a fair bit about what's it called? Like the season finale of Stranger Things, you know? And I'm like, I do not care about that show. I never really cared about that show. I always thought like the gimmick of, the mysterious girl with psychic powers, that had been done. Like all she is Carrie from the Stephen King movie. Yeah, that's all she is. But she does. She uses her powers, not so much to burn everything to the ground, but to fight like alien monsters from another dimension. It's all very convoluted. And the only thing anyone can seem to talk about is how that one character sort of came out of the closet to everybody. And like what has apparently been I guess glossed over or missed out entirely is that sort of conversation, particularly during that particular decade, would not have gone that way. Like, for the people who were alive during the 1980s, and I am one of those people, there was a real, genuine, tangible terror about AIDS back then that I think either was forgotten entirely in this episode of Stranger Things, or they just sort of broke the suspension of disbelief that this wasn't happening in current year. It's very annoying when that happens, I must say. She's looking a lot better now. So let's fix up these colors. So I want to keep the colors flat this time. I don't want too much. Variation in skin tone. I don't even want highlights, just keep it all as flat as possible. Now we've just gone over 2 hours. I hope everyone who's been bearing with me has not gotten... No, stop it. Stop it. There we go, that's better. Oh, I forgot that bit there. So I'm gonna go full on New Year, New Me. When Chinese New Year rolls around, because I appreciate that the New Year in this country happens on the 1st of January, but I like to give the year a chance to sort of mellow and suss it out before committing to anything like, you know, a life-changing habit choice. Because that's the other thing about New Year's resolutions. There's actually no law requiring them to always be a positive, like, net gain kind of change in your life. Like, I mean, theoretically, you could just be like, you know what I'm going to do this year? Just gamble. I'm just going to gamble. You know, or I'm just going to, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna, like, you know, eat whatever it is that I want and see if I can cheat death for as long as I can. And it's like, yeah. There's no specific rule when it comes to New Year's resolutions that specifically requires them to be anything, you know, worthwhile. Of course, most people are pretty good with not inviting too much chaos into their lives after a certain period of their period of time. Like, I always had a relatively low threshold for chaos. And I've never understood people that think, oh yeah, chaos, love it, more please. Like, that is a mindset that I struggle to wrap my head around, honestly. So yeah, as I was saying, that there's there's really no rules, either spoken or unspoken, that say that your New Year's resolution has to be anything other than just pure self-indulgence. But like I said, when you hit your 40s, your brain matures in a way that it makes everything kind of crystallizes in a beautiful pattern where you can't really ignore the fact that people back in the day used to say life begins at 40, and you're struggling to disagree with them. You just think, wow, I think they're onto something, and I think it really does. Because the more I look around, the more I see, and the more I'm like, oh, I know how pretty much everything that is, required to keep me alive and comfortable, I know how all that works. And I don't need to know how pretty much everything else works. It's a fascinating thing. It's like, this is why, we have certain people for certain jobs. This is why, taxes pay for cops and, army officers and stuff like that. And then you just think, maybe there's more to me voting in the next federal election than not just receiving a fine for not showing up, Like, don't get me wrong, I vote. I absolutely vote. But, it's strange participating in elections in Australia because they are mandatory. Like, the fine for not voting isn't particularly high. Like, the average person is usually not going to be that much out of pocket for either forgetting or just refusing to vote out of some kind of principle. And those people I absolutely get. I understand and I love those people. But at the same time, you just think, well, either voting is important or it's not, And I used to think for the longest time that it wasn't, because essentially I was watching as, election cycle after election cycle, the results always seem to get worse and worse. Like, no matter who voted for what promise, it just seemed like, they're just going to say something and then just do whatever they want. And we have to pretend to hope. Like, the people are just left holding the bag while, the country is just, they do whatever they want. It's just interesting, And that's the other thing about turning 40 and becoming a dad and all that, is you realize just how much of what you do during your time becomes extraordinarily important, because you just think, oh, I can kind of see why my forefathers sacrificed quite so much. Like, having great grandparents that fought in wars and stuff, and even grandparents that fought in wars. And then coming back and seeing the disrespect on display when it comes to things like Anzac Day, and you just think, wait a minute. is history not being taught properly? Because I think history is not being taught properly. And yeah, I think that's what it boils down to, is history just is not being taught properly. Remember, if you are just hanging out, feel free to say hi in the comments or in the chat. Let me know you're alive out there. That'd be great. Obviously, I am grateful for all my lurkers out there. You guys make this worthwhile. Knowing that I'm on somebody's personal computer right now, just in the background as they, you know, scroll on their phone, trying to keep awake. Actually, it means a lot. Got me thinking about the song You're So Vain by Carly Simon. Is it Simon or Simons? Let me check. Let's have a look. You're so vain. Yeah, Carly Simon. So, you know, when she sings, "You're so vain, I bet you think this song is about you." It's like, yes, of course I do. Because it's called You're So Vain. Who else would it be about? It's like, yeah. It just seems like a really strange accusation to put into a song that is literally titled You're So Vain. It's like if the person being accused wasn't vain, yeah, the song wouldn't work. Like, the lyrics to the song are terrible. They don't make any sense. But it's such a well-known and catchy tune that I don't think... I think people have been questioning the lyrics to that song ever since it came out. Like, I'm not the first person to notice, hey, this song is stupid. And it doesn't make any sense. And again, that's just me. So this is kind of just a practice run. For when I do the full-on live stream. Ah, we're past midnight. Well, we're officially in December 31st, people. Last day of the year. Wow. We made it. Yeah, far out. I am looking forward to 2026. Like, I've just become an increasingly optimistic person. Like cynicism, like, that kind of bleak outlook, that kind of, nothing's ever going to get better. It's difficult to maintain when your life is actually going really good. It's interesting, like, you almost forget that things can be pretty terrible. Or if things are actually more terrible than they are, that's also an easy thing to forget. It's a funny thing, like, your ability to notice stuff. Keep a little bit of shiny in there. Wow, we're at 2.5 hours. Phew. So I might push this one to like an even 3, so I can just say that, yeah, I completed this one. Yeah, that's looking a lot better. So, let's fix up these shoes. And obviously this one extra bit on the sword has been staring at me this entire time, needs to be added in. So yeah, like I said, if you are stuck for ideas when it comes to New Year's resolutions, like chances are you probably don't need to make one as much as you think. Like unless you really want to get like sober or something, or you've you just got a lot of debts that you want to pay off, whatever it is, chances are you're actually doing way better than you give yourself credit for, and you should just be proud of how far you've come with whatever it is you're doing. So remember, I am accepting any and all feedback in the comments section, and if you are so inclined and still lurking in the chat, feel free to let me know how you think this one has gone. I'd very eagerly like to hear. Excuse me. Any feedback regarding this particular live stream? The chat appears to have halted, although I have had quite a few very encouraging comments. So yeah, don't be shy. Yeah, her armor's more grey, and it is this kind of earth tone brown that I've given it. Man, this one's actually taken a while longer than I expected it to. Tomorrow, I mean, I guess you could say the one that I'll be doing this evening will be a full-on sketch jam. Like, I'm not gonna put this much detail into what I'm doing. For the New Year's Eve one. Although this technically qualifies as New Year's Eve. So this is like part A of a 2-part New Year's Eve stream. This one's just happening exceptionally early in the morning, that's all. Actually, I'm going against my initial rule that I'm just going to keep every color flat. Every color needs to be flat. There we go. All right, 245. Look, I think that looks fine. I will come back to this at a later date. I'm a bit, you know, all talked out, and it's been a very solid live stream. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, man, I am absolutely ready to call it a night. And yeah, I would like to thank everyone who showed up and left a nice comment. And that includes Skater Hados 10, Original Gardener 8466, Celeste Thomas, how's it going? At the Pin, and Wallop 6875, and obviously Aussie Luchador, who is one of my regular viewers on Twitch. Yeah, thanks again, guys. You've been amazing. I'm not sure how many of you have actually bothered to stick around or just, you know, just dropped in and said hi. But yeah, that'll be it for me for tonight. Yeah, doing the New Year's Eve stream. That's gonna be a whole thing. So I've got to be prepared for that. In the meantime, yeah, I'll see you when I see you. I'm bringing back a whole bunch of like old, like little fun catchphrases from previous streams, and that's one of them. So yeah, till next time, guys.